Okay, good morning, everyone. It's Nick Petro at the National Weather Service in Raleigh with a winter storm briefing for Central North Carolina as of 11:30 Saturday, January 12th, 2019. So, as you can see on this initial opening slide, there's a variety of weather warnings and advisories out. You can see the area in pink is where we have winter storm warnings in effect tonight and Sunday, and then the area in blue or light purple is where we have winter weather advisories. So jumping right into the current conditions, I wanted to share this with you to demonstrate what's happening right now. And currently we have temperatures in the mid to upper 30s across a large portion of the state. And where you'll notice on the screen this blue and pink, that's where and that's radar, by the way, and radar reflectivity. And on this particular image, it tries to color code what it thinks is snow and what it thinks is rain. So snow would be blues and pinks, and rain would be green and such. But as we look at some of these observations, it appears that much of this is not reaching the ground, as the sky is overcast at 10,000 feet. Those ceilings are really high. So 7,000 foot scattered clouds up along near Mount Airy. So a lot of this is not reaching the ground. The only place I saw where snow is reaching the ground this morning was in Jefferson and Ashe County Airport. So anyway, as you look at the and the sky is broken at 11,000 feet at Salisbury. So as you look at the radar, you'll see all these reflectivities, but we've got a ways to go before the atmosphere moistens up enough to allow for precipitation of any form to fall. So that's the way things are shaping up. Well, at least the current conditions. And as we head through the first two slides of our typical briefing here, and thank you for that report, Brian. I see in the question window that Boone had snow on the ground early this morning. So clearly that's where that snow in the northwest part of the state has fallen, has reached the ground and had some impact there. But for us here in central North Carolina, freezing rain, snow, wind, power outages, and hazardous travel are all set to be the main points here as we head through tonight and Sunday. Freezing rain looks to be a big issue from the I-85 corridor northward. Not a whole lot of snow. Wind isn't too bad, but with a quarter inch or more of ice accumulation possible, that tends to lend itself to power outages. Again, the I-85 corridor northward. We've been advertising that corridor, having the worst of the winter conditions, and that's not unusual. Winter storms, it's not unusual for if you've been in the Carolinas for any length of time, you'd notice that conditions do worsen the further you go north and west of the triangle with any typical winter storm. So I-85 corridor serves as a good roadway, a geographical reference to indicate where the worst of the conditions will be, and this storm is no different. So of course, hazardous travel will be particularly from the triad and points north and westward, or west of the triangle, again this evening through Monday morning. And we think there's going to be somewhat significant impacts. So snow not so much, but ice and its associated impacts is what we're looking at here. So what about the timing? So I like to show this here to give a sense of what we expect with the timing. So what I'm showing here are four different models, okay? And this is what the radar would look like. This is sort of simulated radar reflectivity, if you will. And it, too, is color-coded, green being rain, pink being freezing rain, and blue being snow. And they're mostly time-matched, but, again, four different models in this particular display. So let's just jump ahead to, let's say, 1 o'clock this afternoon, because obviously the previous time frames have already come and gone. And you can see that there's pretty good agreement in these models that most of central North Carolina will still be dry at this point in time. And I'll point out there that one of these models, this one particularly right here in the lower right, does suggest a little bit of snow on the radar. over the west of the Charlotte area. So it appears to be in several of them. Many of the models do suggest increasing radar reflectivities of some kind. West of Charlotte this afternoon. So, but we're going to have, again, as I pointed out already, a ways to go before it begins to impact central North Carolina. By 4 p.m., most of the models, again, show very light, very splotchy, very isolated radar returns of some kind, either rain or maybe even a few flurries. But again, I'm still thinking that a lot of this isn't going to hit the ground yet because the atmosphere is really dry from the surface up to about 10,000 feet across central North Carolina. So as I showed you in the live radar a short time ago, it's going to take a while to get this to hit the ground, although the models still try to simulate that it's there. So anyway, that's the way things are shaping up. However, sometimes that transition to the point where it gets enough for it to hit the ground can happen very quickly. So most of the models by, say, 7 p.m. do show fairly blossoming radar reflectivities across and spreading eastward across central North Carolina. So I think that's going to be the transition time. After dark, perhaps starting around 7 p.m. and then just expanding and expanding. The radar, you'll see, will expand in coverage and intensity from about the mid-evening onward. And you can see the color coding where these models suggest the different precipitation types. One thing I'll point out to you in these various models that, again, that geographical reference that we keep using, I-85, seems to be a good dividing line between where there's going to be a wintry mix of precipitation versus where there's going to be mainly just rain. Now, the model we're looking at down here in the lower right, it's a little bit more aggressive with maybe some flurries or some light snow from Wake County north, 7 p.m. This model is very coarse, as you could tell. It's the most coarse model. So even if there were a couple flurries in the model, it would spread it out and make it look like it was a lot more than what it really is. So I'm going to discount this image on the lower right for now. I think it's a bit overdone. I think the other three are probably a little bit more representative. So anyway, that's 7 p.m. Let's jump ahead to 10 p.m. this evening. I think by 10 p.m. we're going to have a good swath of precipitation affecting, once again, along and north and west of I-85, and it's going to be mostly frozen or freezing rain at that point. There might be a little bit of snow as you get along the northern I-77 corridor, but certainly for central North Carolina and the Triad region, we're looking at mostly a freezing rain event. And again, once you get south of 85, your chances look pretty good that it's just going to be rain. Now let's jump ahead to 1 a.m. and again, nothing really changes here in terms of where the precipitation transitions will be. Here's that 85 corridor on that model in the upper left. Here's the 85 corridor on this model. Here's the 85 corridor on this model. And here's the 85 corridor on this model. So you can see they're all in pretty good agreement that once you get south of 84, or 85, what am I saying here? The I-85 corridor. Apologize for the I-85 corridor, that is. Once you get south and east of it, likelihood for it to be all rain is obviously much better, and that's 1 a.m. My concern here is during this time, if you're along and north of the 85 corridor, we could begin to see some of this freezing rain begin to pile up here in terms of ice accumulation. So let me get rid of the highlighter here and erase this drawing and get back here to advance to the next frame here. Let's go to 4 a.m. and you can see very little change. Along and north of 85 is where, for the most part, now it might slip a little bit south of 85 if you are in, let's say you're in, I don't know, let's see, let me point out a good one here. Let's say you're in Randolph County or Davidson County. Yeah, you're mostly south of 85, right? But there could be a little bit of freezing rain getting involved here south of 85, but that would be, again, the southern Triad region. So that's why we tend to say along as well as north of 85. All right. So similar story there. Continuing freezing rain across the Triad up toward Person County, again along and north of 85. I'm probably starting to sound like a broken record here. So anyway, let's jump ahead to 7 a.m. so that all these models are time matched. And one thing you'll notice, again, little change. We're still seeing prolonged and ongoing freezing, probably lightning up at this point in time, but freezing rain again across the northern Piedmont, the Triad region. It looks like the models agree that we'll get one good push of steady precipitation moving through around sunrise on Sunday. So if you're in the Triangle region, it could be a good period of some moderate rain. And if you're just along and north of that transition line, you could see some pretty good freezing rain in terms of precipitation intensity. That's 7 a.m. The good news is by 10 a.m., this is all beginning to pull out, and you'll notice some of the models, many of the models, show that even north of 85, it begins to warm up. Look in the lower left, that particular model shows it pretty much all rain all the way up to the Virginia border and beyond across central North Carolina there by 10 a.m. Sunday. So we've got two things Sunday morning, late morning, that are good news. Number one, it's warming up. So even across northern sections of central North Carolina, we should see a transition from freezing rain to just rain, and then it ends pretty quickly by late Sunday morning. Let's jump ahead to 1 p.m. Sunday, and you can see that the heaviest precipitation will be well to our east by 1 p.m. Sunday. So that'll give us a little break in the action, a little opportunity to catch our breath when it comes to, waiting for the next batch of precipitation. And what is the next batch of precipitation? It's this area of light snow that will be across south central Virginia by 1 p.m. Sunday. And you'll notice what some of these models are doing. They're trying to take that very light, and this is light snow. This isn't anything that's going to be a big headline grabber or headline maker. It's just very light nuisancey type snow by 4 p.m. Monday that will try to slip south into northern sections of central North Carolina. And you'll notice it's real scattered, real kind of widely scattered in nature. By 11 p.m., it's really 10, 11 o'clock. There's just not a whole lot left. And then by the time we get to 1 a.m. Monday, most of the higher resolution models on the top show little, if any, of that type of snow. And again, the lower right is the only one that's a little more aggressive with maybe a little bit of light snow. But again, that model I'm showing in the lower right is very coarse. So it generally would be lighter than what that radar reflectivity simulation would be depicting. All right, so let's just jump ahead to rush hour or commute Monday morning, and by then it's pretty much over. It's done by the Monday morning commute. So, wherever there's any kind of lingering, ice pack, if where there's ice accumulation, there could be some black ice Monday morning for the Monday morning commute. But I think locations from the Triangle eastward and southward, you're going to be in good shape for Monday morning. All right. So that's the way it's shaping up. Okay, so I showed you where the heaviest freezing rain and precipitation in terms of wintry precipitation is going to occur. So your next question might be, well, how much? So let me just jump through these right here because those are a little dated. I'll update those before I email them. And here's what we're expecting in terms of snowfall. We're not expecting a lot of snowfall out of this because we expect it to transition over to freezing rain pretty quickly. Even across the Triad, if you were to get into a little bit of snow at the onset, it ain't going to last long. Less than an inch is our expected amount. The highest end amount, again, along and north of 85 and maybe down toward Asheboro, the worst case scenario would suggest 1 to 3 inches of snow before that transition. But that is a 1 in 10 chance. Okay, all the data suggesting a quick transition to freezing rain. Okay, so how much freezing rain? We're talking, a 1/4 inch to maybe 1/3 of an inch across Winston-Salem, Greensboro, up toward Roxboro. That corridor right there, the area that I have circled in the dashed white line, that's where we think There'll be numerous downed trees and power lines due to ice accumulation, along with prolonged hazardous travel beginning late tonight, overnight tonight, and during Sunday. So places further east, if you're not in that dashed area and you're over toward Troy, Pittsburgh, Durham, maybe up toward Henderson, there still might be a glaze of ice, but not nearly as bad as locations to your west. All right, so again, along and north of 85, maybe down toward Asheboro, maybe over toward Lexington, that line northward will have the worst in terms of ice accumulation. So, expect some power outages and hazardous travel, late tonight and Sunday. So that's what we're looking at in terms of and this has been trending upward. I'll point out, since yesterday, these numbers have come up, about 1/10 of an inch maybe. So anyway, that's what we're looking at in terms of how much. All right, so let's kind of wrap this up. The changes, we've issued some winter storm warnings and weather advisories, winter weather advisories. Confidence is increasing. Obviously, it's a high confidence that it will occur. Timing. So again, late this evening through Sunday morning particularly, heaviest precipitations expected to fall tonight through mid-morning Sunday. And what about amounts? Light snow, again, very light. Best chance for any kind of accumulating snow will be far north, closer to the Virginia border, dusting to near an inch. But the main story will be freezing rain accumulations, ice accumulations, again, mainly north and west of U.S. Route 1, with the highest north of I-85 in the Triad area. So, again, along and north of the I-85 corridor, you're going to see at least a quarter inch. And quarter inch is kind of our threshold for not only winter storm warning, but also, the threshold at which we begin to see downed trees and obviously power outages. All right. Obviously, along with dangerous travel. All right. So impacts. Well, I kind of already alluded to that. Along and north of 85, we'll have the best chance to see numerous downed trees and power lines due to ice accumulation, along with prolonged hazardous travel conditions late tonight and Sunday. So what should we be doing? Well, clearly avoid travel if possible later this evening and tonight, and Sunday morning for that matter, for areas along and north of 85. And then obviously stay tuned to updates because, these things always have opportunity to change. Could change for the better or could change for the worse. So definitely you want to stay tuned. This will probably be our only webinar of the event because this time tomorrow things will be sort of, at least the heaviest of the precipitation will be over. So this will probably be our one and only live webinar of the event. But we will update these slides, additionally and email those out as needed throughout the course of the weather event.